You can see behind me, I am at the lake, which is the one of the main attractions here in Evergreen. Right now it's frozen, and so people are ice skating, playing hockey, and people are very active here, and I love to see it, especially in the winter. It's like that's how you get through the winter. You get out there and you move and you stay active. That's been the key for me. Anyways, I yesterday went to a meditation class, and it was a Buddhist meditation class, and I wanted to share my experience of how that went. The way that the Buddhists speak about it, it just really deeply resonated, because what she said is real love doesn't want anything from you, and attachment always wants something in return, right? And it can apply in any scenario, in any given moment. So for example, when we see a beautiful dog and we want to all of a sudden just go hug it and just like love it. You don't know this dog, but all of a sudden, if you're a dog person, this dog made you really happy, right? And you don't expect anything from this dog. It's just the presence of the dog is unconditional love. You don't know the dog, but all of a sudden you love it. And I think that's interesting, because when it comes to like a love and relationships and attachments, we are seeking to get something in return, right? So that's when things start to get a little sticky, and that's when it's attachment and it's not real love. And when that happens, it's just you're not in the full experience of authentic love. So now you're wanting to get something in return. So let's say that someone asks you, hey, can you help me out with this homework I've got? It's really confusing, and you know the subject, and you help them out, and you willingly do it, and you start helping them out, and you're really good at math, and you just like really into it, and you're really in love in it, and you're helping them, and the person's excited, and you're both excited. And it's been about an hour since you've been doing it, and after the hour you start to kind of get in your mind, and then you start to question, well, what am I gonna get in return from this exchange, right? So now it's not that initial thing that you had, which was just from giving. Now you want to get something in return, and that takes away from the experience that was once just pure giving and pure love. And that's when our minds start kind of creeping in and taking away from the experience, and that's attachment. And it's what about me? It's what about me? What can I get out of this? And that's really something that left me pondering, because it is true. I started to think back in relationships, and I started to think all the moments that I've given myself just purely from my heart, and just did it because I wanted to. Those are the most enjoyable moments in our lives, that when we're just giving, and whenever we start to, well, what about me? And what am I getting out of this? Whenever the ego starts creeping in, then it takes away from that experience. So I thought that was really, really interesting. And The other thing that had me questioning was when things happen outside of us that they're not really happening externally, that it's all happening internally, right? So let's say that you see something unjust being done and you get upset and you want to beat that person up, right? So now that scenario and this thing that's outside of you just took over. It just took over your internal. And in Buddhism, what she spoke about is that the concept that everything is internal first. So it didn't just click and I was like, yeah, it makes sense. No, because we're brought up to believe that everything is outside of ourselves. And if I see a beautiful flower, guess what? I'm gonna be happy because it's so beautiful, and the beauty that's in that flower just made me really excited. So it's really easy to confuse the two, or be like, well, yeah, I'm happy because that flower is beautiful. Why would, how can you not see that? But the truth is, in Buddhism, that we generate this internally. Like the flower is just the flower. That same thing that we all do, that when I get the car, when I get the girl, when I get the relationship, then I'll finally truly be happy. We put these things outside of ourselves, not realizing that it is internal first. But the thing is with that is that it takes time. It takes time. You're not just all of a sudden gonna switch, because this is how we're brought up. We're brought up to believe that things are external first, and once I get this, and this, and you do have moments of joy and you do have moments of peace, but guess what? They don't last. None of these things last, because when we really come back to the truth of it, is that we are the ones that are generating this inside of us. And it's kind of a mind fuck as well, because I've heard this before and I've been doing this work for a while, but to hear it again in the Buddhist way, or the way that they put it, the way that I understood it, something just kind of really clicked. It really clicked. And it could be because I'm doing the work, but I want you guys to think on these things, and don't just scroll on to the next video and then just be like, okay, all right, whatever. No, really think of these things, because that light bulb moment, what it does is it creates an awareness within you, and that awareness, it starts to allow you to see things from a different perspective rather than reacting. Now we have space between us and the external, and then we could really see, how do I want to behave. One of the things I said also in the class was, man, this is going to take a really long time. This is going to take a really long time, because our conditioning and the way we've been brought up, to all of a sudden go from everything is attainable, I could reach happiness externally, to no, it's all internally. That's a game changer, and then I made that comment, yeah, that's kind of what's on my mind. And then she overheard it, the teacher, and she kind of pointed, yeah, but what would you rather do with your time? Just let it pass you, or actually pondered, become a better person. And it's a valid point, and I thought this is a really good point. What else are we doing in this life, you know?